Hello again, this is Rebecca, and today I want to talk with you about writing thesis statements for combined essays. These are essays that combine similarities and differences. To start, I want to look at the topics that we will use for our example sentences, and you can see that there are 4 different structures. So for the first one, for nouns, we'll use curiosity and perseverance, these two Mars rovers. For an example for gerund phrases, we'll use designing a rover and designing a car. These are two things that I think could have similarities and differences. As an example for noun phrases, we'll use space travel for science and space travel for tourism. These are also things I think could have similarities and differences. And for the last one is an example of noun clauses, and we'll compare and contrast what scientists do and what engineers do. The things that you compare and contrast can be written in any of these forms, and so the choice depends on the topic and your preference. This is the thesis statement from the combined essay I wrote on the Curiosity and Perseverance rovers. Curiosity and Perseverance share some similarities, but also have some differences. Now, this is just a reminder, how is this thesis statement different from those of other essay types? So this is different from those of cause, effect, compare alone, and contrast alone. Well, one thing is the same is that it includes the topics, so it includes the two things that are being compared and contrasted. And it also is the same in that it gives the type of the essay. It says that it's a combined essay, but there are no subtopics. We are not giving any subtopics in this type of thesis statement. Subtopics are not needed for only this essay type because the similarities will be in one body paragraph and the differences will be in the other. Because the 4 supporting ideas in the body paragraphs are all different from each other, 2 for similarities and 2 for differences, that is too much information to list in the thesis statement. It would make it too long and confusing, so we keep it simple with no subtopics. Okay, so let's look at some other ways to write thesis statements for this type of essay. These 2 thesis statements are the same except for the words highlighted in gray. And I think you understand thesis statements well enough by now to figure out what the missing words are. And these are example sentences using our nouns, comparing one noun with another noun. So can you figure out from the clues that are given and your familiarity with thesis statements what these sentences say? Go ahead and pause the video if you want to try it on your own. I'm going to show a little clue for people who might need more help. So here's a little more help in case you need it. I'm just adding in pieces of words. So again, if you want to try to solve it on your own, pause the video. Because now I'm going to show you the complete sentences. There are both similarities and differences between curiosity and perseverance. You should remember this differences between phrase from when we talked about contrast essays. And we can use the phrase both and, or we can say not only but also. In the same sentence structure, we can use either one of those combining forms. There are not only similarities, but also differences between curiosity and perseverance. Notice that here, these are nouns, a similarity and a difference. We are using the noun forms here for those words. Okay, let's try another one. This one we're going to try with the gerund phrases, designing a rover and designing a car. And this looks like a long sentence with a lot of blanks, but what kind of sentence do you know that starts with an ET phrase? And we have our long S word and our long D word, and I think you know this B word. Go ahead and pause if you want to try to solve it on your own. If you feel like you need a little more help, I've put in the second letter of every word. I think you can tell that these are our verb forms here. Again, pause if you want to work on your own. And here is the complete sentence. Even though there are similarities between designing a rover and designing a car, there are also some differences. I notice that I'm using a gerund here, but this part of the sentence doesn't change if this is a gerund or if it's a noun or a noun phrase. The structure of the sentence will be the same. And also notice that, again, I'm using plural noun forms, similarities, differences. Let's look at another one. This one will use these noun phrases, space travel for science, space travel for tourism. These are noun phrases because there are no verbs in these phrases, and it's just got a preposition in there, and it's all nouns. So, if we look at our blanks, this phrase and this phrase you should remember. If you want to do it on your own, pause the video, but if you need a little more help, here's a little extra hints. Mostly, I've given you this extra word here with a few other letters. So go ahead and pause if you want to think more on your own. And here is the complete sentence. There are not only similar, but also different aspects of space travel for science and space travel for tourism. Notice in this case, I'm using the adjectives similar and different, and then they go with the noun aspects. It's a small difference in the way it's written. And what words do you know that can replace the ones that are in gray? What could I use instead of not only but also? Like we saw in our first example, we can use both and. There are both similar and different aspects of space travel for science and space travel for tourism. All right, let's look at one more. This one, we're using noun clauses, what scientists do and what engineers do. And I thought this scene from this movie was a good example for that. And we have a slightly different sentence structure here. So pause the video if you want to try to work it out yourself. If you need a little bit more help, there's some words there that might be unfamiliar. This one perhaps. And now these two might be a little easier. And now let's see the complete sentence if you're ready. What scientists do differs from what engineers do, but they also resemble each other in some ways. So here we're using differs from, there's the verb form, and we saw this in our contrast essay. And then we're saying, but they also resemble each other, which is a word for similarities. Again, notice that we can replace this noun clause and this noun clause with any of the other structures. We can say, designing a rover differs from designing a car. We can say, curiosity differs from perseverance. We could say, space travel for science differs from space travel for tourism. So with these different sentence forms, any of those structures of your two topics will work. And this is just saying the same thing again. Any of these structures can be used with any of the thesis statements. So try to remember what we did and write a couple thesis statements on your own. You have the topics here and see if you can remember back. Doing it now, just a few, will help to strengthen your memory. And you can go back and look at the earlier slides if you need to. And then try again tomorrow to strengthen your memory even more. So that's the end of this lesson. And as a reminder, if you haven't yet watched the first video on writing this combined compare and contrast essay type, go watch it. It's all about the Mars rover's curiosity and perseverance. And you can do the follow-up activities for more practice. And you can visit the ILC webpage to use the online study links and to make appointments for writing help or study skills mentoring. That's all for today.